Hey, coming up on today's podcast, believe it or not, we're going to be talking EVs again, their impact on the changing in-cabin experience, the size of those screens, and et cetera. Distracting you a bit too much, maybe? We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the latest production batteries for electric vehicles. Solid state is creeping in the market, and we're going to get in depth about why that's important. We're also going to get into a little bit of the safety hazards that are going on right now with your electric vehicle. We want to talk about why Chevrolet should have done this in the beginning. We'll get into more specifics. Hey, man. We're also going to get into We Told You So, and you're going to understand why. So there you go. All that coming up right after this. Hey, everybody. Welcome into this episode of The Counter Show. I have my good friend Keith joining me today as usual. Welcome back from the depths of the freeway.
Here I am. I'm here.
You switched
I'm here.
on me.
What'd I miss?
You didn't really miss. You didn't miss anything, man, because I think we were both on vacay. I got a little tan going on.
Hey, catch me up, as they say when they walk into a meeting late. Don't you hate that? Catch me up.
I tell you
Everybody
what.
that was here before me that showed up on time, catch me up.
Right, yes. Hey, since the last time we podcasted, I've traveled over 5,000 miles. Seen a lot of family. And I saw my classmates from many, many moons ago. It was quite the experience. It was the first class reunion I had ever been to. And I'm not going to tell you how many years because that would be a giveaway, and I'm not going to do that. But for those of you of my class that were there and I asked to listen to my podcast and also give us a thumbs up, subscribe, I really appreciate it. I know for sure we have a new listener, Phyllis, classmate. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into Jay's personal audio blog.
Yeah. Thank you. No. Hi, Phyllis. Thanks for listening.
Hey.
Anyway.
This is a first in a lot of ways because usually I'm the traveler. You know, I usually in any given week log more road miles than you, but...
Well,
nope.
If you do the math on it, man, actually it's probably more than 5,000. I mean, most of that was in the air, but
yeah,
I had some ground time too, man. And we're probably talking, you could probably add another 1,000 miles to that, I think, to be for sure. I mean, trips back and forth to the airport, both ends, and then back and forth from one beach to the other, you know. So
just said both ends.
Ooh. Well, it didn't turn out that way, so it was actually good.
So, not for lack of trying on my part. I think we're going to have an interesting story coming up.
Oh boy!
On the next podcast, it's been unfolding for the past month. My family's summer vacation kind of got canceled, and there's some good that came out of it, but
yeah,
we got an RV Odyssey in the new one, and I bought it used, which we'll get into all that. To be continued, because it's going to end up being a whole podcast. I think there's that much.
Yeah, there's that much. That'll be on the next podcast. I think we're going to go there. And so, can you just preface it by saying, if you are an RV owner, you're going to want to listen to this one?
Sure. If you're an RV owner, you're going to want to listen to this. Because
Or if you're looking to purchase one as well.
Yeah, even as a guru, there are things that I didn't know that I've learned that I would like to share that Jay has helped me with that probably are in the 5% or less in terms of number of times it would happen to people, but still it's a big enough deal that, I mean, Jay, we're talking probably a third of the purchase price is what I'm looking at in repair costs. So
It's crazy, man.
that's all I'm going to say for now. But for this podcast, for this episode, Jay,
Yes.
which is Stardate 47634.44.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Which, speaking of, are you caught up on Strange New Worlds?
No, I'm one behind.
Okay. I'm caught up. So
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yes, I love it. I'm having a blast watching it. So for those of you who don't already know, Keith and I are total Star Trek nerds, and we've watched everything that they've ever put out. And we're currently watching Strange New Worlds, the new season 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we're anticipating Discovery season 5, I think it is, should be coming out later this fall, maybe first of next year. So and there's got to be a new Picard coming. Got to be, man.
No way. They're done.
I don't know. There was so many cliffhangers in that one, dude. I think we have to go there. If not, I'm going to be a little disappointed. But I've seen worse things happen.
Tune in next week, everyone, for the Jay is Disappointed podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, never happy, man. I'm just so downbeat, man. Yeah, so anyway. So we've got an interesting show today, and
it's heavy.
It is heavy, and we're preaching to the choir here. We know that we are, especially you guys that have been on the side of, electric vehicles are a big mistake for the industry and for
no. Wait, hold up.
What?
We are the EV podcast, right? That's us.
Yeah. No, we just talk about what is most important in the industry
Jay,
at the time of podcasting.
We're EV fanboys.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wait,
no, what are we? You tell everybody what we are. We are truly not.
Yeah, we're agnostic. We just report on
what's
current, what's in the news cycles, what's relevant, and if it's a popular thing, of course if it's automotive, it has wheels, we're gonna spend time on. Heck, if it hovers, I mean, do we need to draw the line at wheels?
Not really. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to the that EVTOL, man, the flying.
Yeah.
Flying EV.
Yeah, we have lots of friends in the EV sector. We're gonna do some live stuff from the Electrify Expo.
Yep.
But we are not. I mean, honestly, I feel like it's just like our YouTube reviews, which, by the way, you can, if you're not watching this on video, it's out on video podcast as well on YouTube. And that YouTube channel is youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. When did I become the guy to start giving all this stuff out?
Hey, man, I'm just, we're it's just.
So, yeah,
it's okay.
But as we would say in a lot of our more recent reviews, including one by yours truly recently.
Which was nice, by the way. It was a really good one. Are you talking
Ronald
about the
Jockey? I'm Ronald Jockey.
Yeah, Ronald Jockey. Yeah.
Y'all,
sorry, I have terrible hearing, man.
No, I don't think it's you at all.
I swear to you, I thought it was like some reference to a movie or something that I hadn't seen.
There's well, I do throw those in. I could see where you may have just gone along for the Right. So I did a review. Jay and I both do these. We've got a brand partner. It's Modus Brands. They do Black Widow. They do race
Black
ramps.
Widow Pro.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And so there's a review that just came out where it sounds like I say I'm Ronald Jockey at the beginning. So we're sticking with that. But but I digress. Back to my point here. We typically do fair reviews. So we're not paid to do these reviews. They might send us the product. They might not. Sometimes we buy them. But I don't think we've ever done a paid review. I could be wrong there.
No, nobody's paying us to do these.
And the same is true of the podcast. So we're not all in on EVs. We're not all in on internal combustion engines. We're just trying to give you guys a fair insight from industry insiders, if you will. Fair, professional, fair... from the gurus, right? A fair perspective.
And the bottom line is that Keith and I both will agree on this. I know we will. I speak for him here, but I know that we agree on most things. But this is, I think the way that we assess these things and we communicate these things to you is really kind of an overall consensus of what's really going out there, because we have a lot of friends in the industry, colleagues in the industry that are on the same page and they get it. And, speaking of one, Jim from Optima Batteries, who had the best comment about electric vehicles, basically saying that, hey, there's room for it all. We're in the battery industry, but what we don't need to do is let our politicians direct how we purchase vehicles. That does not need to be part of it.
All I need to tell you, if you think it might be a good idea to let politicians make the decisions on direction in the automotive industry, is to go watch the hearings on TikTok, and you get the whole memes of, these politicians showing up and asking if the thing connects to Wi-Fi, and
they got some homework to do.
Yeah,
they got some homework to do. Man.
Jim's right. You don't want your politicians making uninformed legislation.
Correct.
You want that to be dictated from your builders, from the people that know what they're doing.
They truly need to be listening to the people in the automotive industry about what they really want. And we're going to get into some of these things that directly impacts the safety of vehicles right now, and then some things that we need to consider infrastructurally wise as we get deeper into this conversation. And I think that most of you at the end of this show, you're going to agree with us. I just feel that. And we will see. But it's one of those situations.
Now I'm going to have to keep watching.
Yes, you should. Make sure you subscribe, please. But so, can you subscribe to yourself? Is that, we can do that?
I mean, if you have a separate account, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
A little bit.
That's okay. I mean, I don't know. Why not, man? If it helps the metrics, right? So, I'm just saying, man. But no, honestly, the bottom line is, folks, I think that you're going to agree with the fact that the changes that are coming to the industry are necessary when it comes to electric vehicles in order for this to work. And there's going to be a couple of I told you so moments throughout this podcast today. So we'll get over to that here in just a minute, and we will get into depth again about the safety aspects of some of the things that are in cabin now, as well as the weight of these things and how that's going to affect some infrastructure, because I have questions. So I'm going to be raising some questions to you guys today, and we really, really do want you to come in here and comment on it.
Now I really do have to keep watching. Okay, so
serious.
So for example, Jay, I think we maybe got a little bit ahead of ourselves here in the whole EV push. Now, yeah, I understand COVID, and I understand everybody was kind of sitting around, and then, we had this period of time where nobody drove and we all walked out and breathed clean air, and we thought, no better time than now, and everybody was just sitting around with money, and they went and bought electric cars, and on and on and on. But I feel like, and we said this, some of the manufacturers, because as I like to say, the automotive industry is fond of reacting to peer pressure. It's not the best way to go forward, but it's what they've always done. And when a competitor comes up with a good product, all the other players rush to match that or beat it, instead of waiting to see. I mean, they may not even want to go down the road of creating an electric vehicle, but you had GM, who announced several electric products that really still haven't hit the market, like the Hummer EV and the Lyriq, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And Ford, who did, to their credit, a better job of getting out stuff like the Mach-E. But I think they kind of went a little bit too far ahead of themselves. And I don't want to say they went all in, but they went a long way in, right? They put a lot of their chips on the table in terms of EV. And now we're having to pull back a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the influx of electric models, I mean, everybody wanted model after model after model. I mean, and I think that they were listening to what the public was truly wanting, but I think they went a little bit too far with this, especially when you haven't perfected or are just still in Gen 1 of electric vehicles. I mean, look, what Tesla has been able to do in the electric vehicle market is not going to be matched by any other electric vehicle manufacturer. It just isn't going to happen. Because if you look at the statistics on the vehicles that are selling, the electric vehicles that are selling, the Tesla still wins the race, man.
What you talking about, man?
I'm right.
In terms of units sold or what? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get this is, if I'm a consumer which I am a consumer, and I'm looking to buy an electric vehicle, I'm going to have to lean more towards the Tesla because the Tesla's been out for a long time and they've got a really good track record. They've kind of worked through a lot of those bugs that new to the game have not yet, and they're kind of riding on the coattails of those that have come before them. And that's where I think the market is right now. They have a lot of learning yet to do, man. So
I'd still think I'd rather go forward. This is maybe one of those few times we disagree.
I would like for you to explain to me why.
Remember that I've been... Okay, well, that'll be next week because I've been burned by... Okay, so remember, back to the RV thing for just a second. I had a Ford... It was on a Ford chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think we may have even commented on this. A lot of the recent problems that I got into would really not be an issue if it were a Ford chassis because you could just go to a Ford dealer and pretty much any Ford dealer and, they're a little bit more equipped to handle things both quickly and without massive... Anyway, all right, that's it. I'm done. But for that reason, think about it. You got Tesla. Are they going to come to me? How's this repair thing work? Same with Rivian, right? Yeah, I like the product, but if I break down in Idaho in the middle of, not that there aren't Rivian dealers, I'm trying to think of but if I break down in Elk City, Oklahoma, which is exactly halfway between Amarillo, Texas, and Oklahoma City, just don't ask me how I know that. I'm sure it'll come up again later.
Which I'd like to know what the stats are on that city for the number of electric vehicles sold for that market.
It's got to be close to zero.
Wait a minute. I'm asking you guys, listeners of the show, leave a comment if you know this. Well, let's get some specifics on this. I brought this up, Keith, before. You know this.
It's on Route 66. It's a big Route 66 museum and all. Yeah, right.
But
so traditional.
Yeah. But you've heard me say to you that where the electric vehicles might work in a larger metropolitan area because of emissions and that sort of things, it just kind of makes more sense because the infrastructure is there to charge them, et cetera.
Yeah.
I don't think you're finding that in Elkhart, Oklahoma.
Elk City. But actually they do have some pretty big. They do have some pretty big.
Do they have elk?
Ford and
That's
Chevrolet.
The question.
I think they used to. Look
at us moving in and just pushing the elk out, man. Let's name it Elk City. Okay?
Well, there's other towns like that too. And you're like,
but let's push them out.
How did this town get its name? But
like Hollywood, South Carolina. Yeah, that's a doozy.
Right?
They're making movies there, guy.
Yeah. Places with the name Bear in them, and it's like there haven't been bear here for. But Jay, in all the irony, some of the largest car dealerships. So in the Carolinas, where you're from, it's who's the big auto group? They're heavy into NASCAR.
Yeah,
Rick
Hendricks.
Hendrick.
Yes.
Hendrick. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a big, they own the GM dealer, they own the Ford dealer, they
own
the
a
Toyota
lot
dealer.
Of them.
So the same thing is true here in Western Oklahoma, but the dealer, the family name is Cummins. Cummins.
I get you.
So guess what happens when you go on Google and you search for a Cummins repair center?
That's interesting. I can see how that could be a bit of a debacle for you. Please stay tuned to the next podcast, and you'll get the inside joke here.
So anyway, I think I would, only because I'm I've been burned now. I would go probably more a traditional manufacturer for an EV. That's just me. We can split hairs. You guys can leave a comment. You can try to persuade me. I'll listen.
Now, I wouldn't disagree. And look, I'm just going to say you don't necessarily want to jump in on a startup EV because a lot of those, what I have learned just watching this whole thing transpire, it's a big money grab. There's a lot of problems with those. I'll say it again, Lordstown is one of the finest examples of that you'll have. They're so dysfunctional. And be careful. If you do purchase one of these startup company EVs, you got to look at the long term. How am I affected in 5 years when they're under and there's nobody to work on it? That's a bigger deal. So you got to look at your wallet, your circumstances, and all of those that surround that to make that decision.
Lordstown?
He's dead, Jim.
This is true.
Sorry.
It's okay. I love it.
Yeah, so we got a little pullback going on right now in
big time.
EV sales. But we've also got some, hey, this is new. We've been calling it kind of first gen, 1.5 gen EV. And we're going to get into some details that we think will define the second gen here in just a few minutes. But now we're having some highway safety type stuff, in HTSA. All the acronyms are taking a closer look at some safety issues that we hadn't previously considered for these EVs. The least of which is some of the weight challenges, right?
That's right.
And the problems that creates on infrastructure, right?
Exactly, man. And that's a main point that I wanted to kind of bring up today, Keith, was this is the first gens are going to be, then you get into second gen, then you get into third gen. Sometimes it takes you that third generation to potentially get that right. And I think if there's ever been an emphasis on that, I think right now with this is the case, because as Keith and I have said before, and if I could get a Bert, that would be just absolutely great for me right now. But since my sound man is,
I hate to say I told you so,
having a little drink on the side.
Sorry, man. I was trying to do it at the most inappropriate time. Just carry on. I'll get it in a minute.
Yeah, but we have said that the answer to the end game here is going to be in the batteries, right? So right now, first gen batteries, they're super, super heavy. And so just to kind of give you an example, we have got vehicles that are double in weight what their counterpart is in the gasoline side.
I hate to say I told you so.
Right.
Sorry.
So
but that's been that way for a while. Because, like, for example, when we did the hybrids, remember when we did the hybrids in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
And I literally looked at some cars personally. Some of my family looked at cars, and they were like, "Well, should I buy the Camry or should I buy the Camry hybrid or what?" And I said, like, okay, so they're basically getting the same MPG because the hybrid weighs sometimes thousands of pounds more than just the gasoline engine. So all that extra weight is affecting your fuel economy. What's the advantage there? I mean, it's a heavier car. It's going to take more effort to move that heavier vehicle.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's still, again, it is a nut that has yet to be cracked here, and that's the key here. And so, fuel economy is one thing, or range. That's one thing, but then you look at the safety side of it. So there's been the new studies, by the NHTSA about the collisions that are occurring between an electric vehicle and, say, a gasoline vehicle. So let's give you an example. Let's set this up, okay? So you've got the on the SUV class, and this is just an example. You've got the Hyundai Ioniq 5 versus the gasoline version or internal combustion engine version of the Hyundai Tucson Hybrid. The Tucson Hybrid comes in at a weight of 3,774 pounds. And then you've got the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which is the all-electric, battery electric vehicle, which is coming in at 4,562 pounds. So that's a difference of almost 1,000 pounds, or almost 800 pounds, I should say. And then let's go even bigger to a sedan. You've got a difference of 1,341 pounds between a Hyundai Ioniq 6 and then a Hyundai Sonata, which is an internal combustion engine. Now, where this becomes important is during the crashes, okay? There are reports of crashes. They have it on record, obviously, but they also do their own testing. And the unfortunate side to this is that while the EV is built to a standard of safety compliance, that vehicle's okay, but unfortunately, because of the extra weight caused by the batteries, it is causing greater damage and potential loss of life and severe injury in the occupants of the other vehicle. So this is a problem. And, I didn't think of this initially when we started talking about electric vehicles, the impact that would have from a crash standpoint. Take, for example, the Hummer. I mean, the Hummer is nearly 6,000 pounds. And that's almost double what, say a Silverado, just a gasoline Silverado, internal combustion engine Silverado. So these are severe issues. And I think that the answer to that, obviously, like we were saying, Keith, is going to be the battery technology has to change in order to fix that problem, to remove that as a factor here. But then I started thinking deeper in this. I'm like, well, there's this big push for these things by our politicians to go all electric. When have they done the studies on the infrastructure? Can the parking garages handle the extra weights that if we go all EV?
Is this one of those that I'm allowed to answer or I'm not allowed to answer?
Sorry, man. Yeah, you're allowed to answer.
But all right, well, I'd like to hear from everybody else. But let me say this, because I feel like CBS News even slanted their reporting a little bit in favor of the future technology of EVs. And let me explain what I mean. So this list that you were referencing, Jay, that's got like the Hyundai Ioniq and the Tucson and the Sonata. And
right before you, yes.
Yeah. So over here you have pickup. You have Ford F-150 Lightning at almost 6,800 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have it says ICE in the next column for the F-150 hybrid. Now, I don't know what model years these are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's a hybrid.
Right.
That is not, which you can still buy today,
right,
the F-150 traditional.
It's much less than that.
So let's go look at that, since they conveniently left that out.
They did
and
leave it
I
out.
Conveniently was able to find it on Edmunds. Didn't take long.
Of course, because you, sir, are a guru.
So here we go. 4,705 pounds. That's the 2023 F-150.
Just straight up. Just
Now,
straight up internal combustion engine.
That Lightning it isn't more than a year old because it hasn't been out for more than a year. So we know, again, going back to that Lightning, the 6,700 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not really like a mathlete, but 4,700, 6,700 pounds minus 4,700 pounds is more than 100-pound difference, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, absolutely it is.
In fact, it's pretty close to a couple thousand pounds, which also happens to be a ton.
Right.
Like
so,
literally a ton.
And
it's a ton heavier.
I thought you said you weren't a mathlete. So
I pretend to be one on
and to that point,
our podcast.
Now, what is the average EV getting in acceleration, right? Let's take, for example, the Hummer. I think it's 0 to 60 in just over 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm assuming that
sure, yeah.
a lot of these are that we know the Teslas.
They're all in that,
They're all in that range. Yeah. So to be able to go from 0 to 60 in velocity with that kind of weight, can you see what damage that could cause to just a standard vehicle that is much less capable of handling that type of impact?
Yeah, right.
It's like doing the math on the train going at...
Just ask the Dodge, was it the Challengers or the Chargers that they were just blowing the rear ends out of them because they were so powerful?
Oh, that was the Challengers.
It was creating so much torque that on the drag strip, they were just shredding.
Just ripping them right out, man. Yeah.
So, point taken. So
it's a problem.
We got a weight issue. And while you may say, well, look, that's only 2,000 pounds more. And if you go like these bridges, like like I have to look at all this stuff driving my RV because there's places I can't go. There's roads like I'm heavy, or it's a height clearance thing or whatever. So that's a factor when you put 3 or 4 of them on that same load-bearing structure like a parking deck. Well, now that parking deck's probably not made to handle 18-wheelers, but now you've got the equivalent of multiple 18-wheelers parked on the roof.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
That's the point I'm trying to make. I think that infrastructurally we have to look at all of these things. I mean, it's not just about having the infrastructure to charge these things, but if the weights continue like they're continuing, this could be a really big problem for us in that regard. Bridges, parking decks, etc. Roads in general. I mean, we have Lord knows we have enough dysfunctional highways out there. Hey, yeah, my tax money that you're taking from me that specifically goes to the roads. What happened? What the hell happened? I don't understand it, man. The fact that
these aren't the droids you're looking for, Jay. Move along.
Okay. Sorry, man.
Oh
anyway,
no, trust
don't you
me,
agree with that? I mean,
yeah, I live in Tennessee, as you know, and,
Yeah.
and a lot of our listeners know, and we got this thing going on now where the governor's trying to sell everybody on paid express lanes,
oh, really?
and this is a bell that you can't ever unring. And we typically don't get political on this show, and I don't really think this is a political statement. I would argue it's a historical statement.
Ask the people of Seattle about those paid express lanes.
Right. Once you go down that road, no pun intended, you really can't ever go back. And so the issue that I have with that is it's double dipping.
Absolutely.
You got
it is.
federal
kind of like
you got
alcohol
taxpayer
taxes,
money to
yeah.
build the roads, and now you're going to charge those same taxpayers.
Yeah, like
more to
taxes
use
on
the roads.
alcohol. Yeah, yeah. And
Right.
gasoline. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah.
But let's don't get political here, man. I don't want to do that.
I mean, that could come from any political party. It doesn't. I'm just, yeah.
It's a money
Who
grab,
likes to
man.
pay for their stuff twice?
Right.
I mean, who likes to buy an
All
RV
right.
and then pay to have it fixed right away? I don't. Anyway.
I am not going down that rabbit hole right now. So, anyway, the bottom line is there is a bigger picture here that I think people are missing, and namely our guys that are trying to, say that we need to go all electric when we are nowhere near ready to be all electric. So. Take that from us, and we're saying that. We got nothing against the electric vehicle because we think it is a viable option. But I don't think that it's an option that should be forced upon anyone to have to.
Yeah.
You should have the right to choose.
That's always been not only our stance, but the automotive industry in general. Right to Repair
Right.
Act, all this stuff, right? And
Right.
so, but now I will say there are some good that comes from this. And I think this is something that we would agree on that we are both fans of, and that is the innovation factor. So you have the EVs were able to push the envelope of some change in design because they were EVs. They could get away with being completely different or more radical. People would tolerate that. Well, it's a different kind of car, so you expect it to just look different, even on the inside. And so, you get, and again, back to your point with Tesla, Jay, you get these huge, radically different screens inside a Tesla. And I've seen stories of the police like pulling people over driving a Tesla for having a laptop on, and the guy's like, "This is factory. It came from Tesla. It was built in." I mean, there's videos like that all over YouTube. Go watch our channel first, and then search for those. But the point I'm attempting to make here is that they have pushed the envelope, which I'm a fan of, in a lot of ways. Acceleration being another one, right? Like, I don't trust the self-driving, but I like that we've experimented with some safety features as a result, like helping collision avoidance and all that.
And I have an idea.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so you and I have reported on this many times about we are just not ready for fully autonomous vehicles unless you have a dedicated lane, right? I think you and I talked about that, Keith.
I hate to say I told you so.
There you go. I was having a conversation with my son about, Ford has just recently come out and said that they're investing heavily into induction charging road surfaces, right?
All right, Jay, could you dumb that down for me? Induction, what's that mean?
All right, you guys, you have your MagSafe phones. Let's just talk phones where you lay it down and it charges.
Because I'm not very computer literate, but now
Right.
you're talking iPhone. I got
Which
it.
is going to segue into something else here, but the
So
point.
So you're saying if I put my iPhone on my car, it'll charge my car?
Right. That's right. That'll happen. And we are the ones that have patented that. And so just go to partscountergurus.com and go to Patreon and go ahead and invest into this technology with us. And we appreciate that very much. So anyway, the point. Have I just been rickrolled, man?
No, I think you rickrolled everybody else.
Okay, gotcha.
So induction, wireless charging.
Wireless charging, basically.
Okay.
Yes. So I thought, how smart would this be to have a dedicated lane for autonomous vehicles that also charges electric vehicles? It would be, for me, a no-brainer, because then you're killing two birds with one stone. You got the charging issue taken care of. You got,
and you could pay for that because technically it's
a pay.
paying for charging, and
that's what I'm
I would be
talking
okay
about.
with that. I would be
Yes.
okay with that. Yeah.
Right. So dedicated lanes for autonomous driving. Why
Yeah.
not? And why not make that the charging lane as well?
Hey, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Are you about to try to make a point? This is not my question.
Yeah. My point is that you could kill two birds with one stone.
Okay. Is that it?
That's all.
I mean,
have, man.
it's a really good idea. I just wanted to
I'm just bringing that up.
crap on your point. No, it's a good.
No.
It's a good. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, just
Yeah,
bringing that
it's
up.
good.
I mean, it's just these are just ideas,
So we
But I'm
traveled
not very
I-70.
computer literate, man.
We traveled I-70. All right. We traveled I-70 a little bit over the past few weeks. It's the big one that runs east to west across the country, right in the middle.
Oh, is that what that means?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're adding some extra lanes in Missouri, and it's like a statewide thing because it runs all the way through the middle of the state.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to do this and we're going to incorporate your autonomous charging lane or whatever we're going to call that, why can't we build it over? Like have a double decker, like have the old traditional stuff on the bottom, and then you go up and you just build the interstate. You just build a second layer.
Wait a minute. Well, why wouldn't you put the old traditional on top since they're lighter than the EVs?
Oh, or that. That's even better. Yeah.
See? Yeah.
But why? Why can't we do that? Is it a cost thing? Does it cost that much more for a raised surface?
I don't know. I'm not a civil engineer. I don't have any idea what costs go into. I just know that we have a hell of a lot more red tape in this country to get through in order to even think about that.
So I think what we've decided here is, yes, we need an autonomous charging lane, and we can charge for that.
Yeah.
And we can use the revenue from that to build a second layer for the ICE vehicles.
Yeah. And then we can build over that like these, like when you go into casinos and they have these ventilators like where you smoke, so it just pulls all the smoke out. So then we have the emission problem solved, and we let all of those ICE vehicles drive up top that will be under the hood of an air cleaner, so that then the emissions are no longer dirty. But then if you do all that, then why don't we just build a hood for the internal combustion engines and say screw the EVs and just clean the air up that way? That won't work, will it?
Yeah, I don't know. It was good
Sounded
for a bit.
good. Sounded good,
yeah.
didn't it? Yeah. Sounded
Okay.
good.
So
I'm just
back
still
to
looking for that prize in the Cracker Jack box, man.
Right.
That's all.
So back to the technology thing and the pushing the envelope that we've said many times, like Tesla. That's one of the reasons I was a fan of what Tesla did.
All seriousness here.
Yeah. So we now have the gaming industry contributing. So this is actually a good thing. So instead of GM going, what's Ford doing over there, or what's Tesla doing over there, they're going, well, let's talk to some PlayStation guys and figure out what they're doing. And since these cars are radically different anyway, maybe we incorporate some of that into our EV design element.
Yeah.
Right?
The total focus on vehicles these days are based on demographic, okay? Bottom line.
Yep.
And if you don't believe that, then just read this story here. If you get into a new vehicle these days, there's going to be some sort of infotainment system in there, and the entire cab is going to be centered. It will be centered around that specifically, and it's getting out of hand. I mean, when you start getting to the point to where you have all of the displays across the front of the vehicle, it's all digital, it's touch screen. There's no more buttons, man. There's no buttons anymore. There's not like a dedicated knob to turn something on. It's all touch screen. And this is posing a distraction problem. But the fact that they and where the distraction comes in are people like myself, and maybe an older demographic that are not used to using an iPhone regularly or a touchscreen computer or an iPad or whatever. When you put that in a vehicle as you're trying to drive and navigate through traffic, it can be a problem. There were tests shown that were done that showed that vehicles with manual controls, if you will, analog controls, if you will, instead of digital controls, it took them about 40% longer to achieve the same task if they were trying to use a touchscreen versus the ones with the knobs, the buttons and knobs and stuff. You see what I'm saying?
That's the old, you can tell time on an analog watch faster than an LCD, LED, digital readout.
And my point is there's two things here. It's that, we have a safety issue, but I think how they're addressing it is they're addressing it more towards the future buyers. Whereas my kids are more used to that whole distraction thing because they can game and do many other things at the same time. So I think that's where these gamers come in to create an interface for drivers, the in-cab experience.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's still a distraction. So the study you're referring to was done by a Swedish car magazine called, I'm not even going to try. It was a Swedish car magazine, okay?
You don't speak?
Yeah. And they did 4 tasks in the BMW iX, which is their electric, X is their crossover. And it took 3 times as long.
That's right.
To perform those same tasks with a through the infotainment center as with traditional analog tactile.
That's right.
Buttons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's so I was thinking about this, Jay. The only scenario where I'm okay with massive infotainment screens in cars and getting bigger and bigger. Actually, 2. Number 1 is if it unlocks or you can, like, it slides up or it gets bigger or whatever when you're not driving, like when you're parked. Which they already have that technology now. Like, I have a aftermarket radio, and like you can't play certain video. Like you can't use the video play feature or whatever while the car is in motion. The parking brake has to be on. It's easy. We're already there. That's not a stretch at all. So to implement that or movement detection. I mean, if you use Waze or literally they've got that going because when you stop at a stoplight, it starts running ads. Like it's using movement detection, and then when you start moving again, those ads stop. Right. So we have the technology. The other scenario that I'm okay with it in is if you're not driving, if the car's driving, which I'm not really okay with the car doing. I don't trust that, but if we get to the point where that becomes safer, I would be okay with it, right? Because then essentially you're just watching television. But you're never going to convince me as somebody that was a part of the wireless telecom industry in its infancy, who then started watching distracted driving happen with cell phones before we even had screens.
Right.
That now we're to the point where people are full on watching like videos while they're driving down the road.
Yeah.
And you're never going to convince me that it's just as safe as you not looking at that screen.
That's correct. It's still a distraction. I agree with you. And I've said that all along. And I like your point about if it's only up in specific situations where you're not physically driving, and there should be some sort of mechanisms in place to keep that from happening. But I stress all of this and want to also stress another thing, which is this is not just in electric vehicles. This is across the board. Any new vehicle that you see out there, they are more focused. It's right.
Yeah, right.
With the onset and onslaught of the electric vehicles, this is what, all of a sudden car manufacturers are going, oh, we can do this too. We can do this in our, Cadillac Escalade. And they did. And I mean, you could even buy an Escalade or even like a GMC Yukon in the mid 2000s or, say 20 teens that have they come from the factory with video screens on the backs of the headrest of the driver and passenger side for people in the back to entertain themselves, kids entertain themselves while they're on the road. That I get it. That's a totally different animal. But when your entire front facing, when you're looking at these things and you see nothing but screen and just stuff going on, I can't see how it cannot be a distraction to some degree and very unsafe. And I've driven some of these things with the newer vehicles with all of the gadgetry going on, and it took me a minute to get used to it. But I understand how electronics work, and I've worked with quite a few of them. So a lot of the stuff is intuitive if you're aware of it. But if my stepmother got into one of these vehicles, she would not even know where to begin. She would not know where to begin, honestly. Right. I was in a new Laramie, which is a Ram 2500, just over the weekend. Beautiful, beautiful vehicle, man. Very well done. In fact, I might like to do a podcast solely reserved to how pickup trucks like those have changed so much. I mean, it's just unbelievable with the amount of storage in them. But anyway, my point is the whole thing centered around less buttons, and it had this huge screen in the middle, but it's got the 360 cameras, the overhead.
Yeah.
It's got the trailer technology, so when you're backing up,
super helpful when you're towing.
Absolutely, those are tools that are very useful. One thing that I did see, and I mean, they're getting away from the putting it in gear there or having it in the console here. It's just a dial, electronic.
Oh man, driving a 35,000 pound motorhome. One of the most surreal experiences on an air ride chassis is the Allison transmission that doesn't have park. It's just 3 gears, three shift options.
Right.
Drive, neutral, and reverse. And B, that it's just buttons.
Yeah.
And you're like, this thing is way too big for me to trust. There's this mental thing of, is this it? Like, there's no big shift lever. No, it's just, you just push a button and it's all electronic.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I love technology, and a lot of it's very useful. Some of it gets overkill.
When it works,
though.
It's great.
Right. Some of it's overkill, and I've given this analogy: a refrigerator that has a door to the freezer, a door to the refrigerator. Oh, and by the way, the ice maker's up there too, but no way to get the ice unless you open the door. That thing will last for 30 years. But you get one of these new fridges that has a television screen on it and, ice and water through the door, cold and hot water. You can physically, see through the fridge to see what's in the fridge, that sort of stuff. All of that stuff, man, is going to break. So
I don't see what the problem here is if I can have a margarita anytime I want. Is there a problem?
No, there's no problem with it, man. But it just is. We got to be careful with this stuff, man. I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, I think, right now. But again, it is a marketing strategy that these guys have, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't think they really care about the 65 plus and older drivers. You see what I'm saying?
So here's the real question.
Would you agree with that? I'm directly asking you that question.
Is this one that I'm supposed to answer?
Yeah, you're supposed to answer this one. Do you think?
I think you're spot on. But here's the bigger question.
Okay.
And I'm gonna answer your question with a question.
Okay.
In true biblical true biblical fashion. Okay.
Right.
So, I think probably I became aware of this in the early 2000s. And to some extent, at least the players that I saw doing it more on TV, and it may just be because those are the commercials that I saw, were like Kia and Hyundai, and they're all doing it now. But the what's under the hood became completely non-existent in these commercials.
Right.
They just told you that it had Bluetooth and you could connect all this cool crap to it. And as a car reviewer, everybody, as somebody that has gone out and reviewed cars, it's really hard to want to talk about what the car can do performance-wise and what's under the hood and whether it's good or not. When you have to weigh in, how much are people really going to care? Are they going to care at all? So the question that I have back to you, Jay, is, does it even matter? Does it matter anymore what's under the hood? Does it matter? Are there enough people out there that care? Should they care? The engines have kind of become homogenized anyway. I mean, you can't really get a Bronco 6-cylinder manual transmission, and Ford's done the math on that, and I think nobody would care enough that they should make them. Does it matter? Should we even waste time talking about, from now on, what's under the hood and performance of that vehicle?
It should matter.
Why?
Because of your specific usage. I mean, if you're just buying a commuter, remember back in the old days, we would just go buy like a Chevy Chevette or a Toyota Corolla because we knew it was a small displacement engine. We're looking to get from point A to point B. But if
Honda Civic, the original.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're looking for a purpose-built vehicle, like the one I just mentioned, which was that Ram 2500, the Laramie version, that thing is built to tow stuff, man.
Okay.
And it has a Hemi in it.
All right. So let's take trucks out of the. Okay. So let's take trucks out of the. Let's just trucks. Let's set
purpose
the trucks
built.
aside.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you got crossovers.
Yeah.
And sedans. And sedans, unless you're in the EV crowd, they're fewer and fewer. Okay. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Do I care what's under the hood of that Jaguar I-Pace?
For the demographics that they're working with now, I think that it is becoming less and less of
F-Pace.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
F-Pace, I got you.
But
it's becoming less and less more of a factor in them buying that car.
Tucson, right? How many people buying a Tucson, which still has an ICE version, actually care what engine option, beyond how much is it going to change the cost?
Right. I think it's going to matter to some, man. I really do. But I don't think it matters as much as it used to. And I think I have to kind of blanket that with that. And I think that as time goes on, that's going to continue to be the case.
I think this has turned into nobody owns music anymore. Meaning,
good,
I own tapes, you own tapes, we own vinyl. There's still a vinyl shop down the road from me. I bought some vinyl the other day.
Yeah.
I own CDs. And then I bought, when iTunes first, I bought albums on iTunes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people stopped buying albums, and it's not because people stopped buying music. It's because Apple decided you didn't need to buy albums anymore.
Right.
And the reason they decided that is because they could make more money. Okay, but we didn't even get into that.
Right.
But I think what happened is the car companies decided you don't need to care about what's under the hood, and so we're just not going to talk about it anymore.
Right.
And everybody's just gone along with it and said, yeah, you're right. These aren't the droids I'm looking for. I'm just going to move along, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so we're basically just being told that it doesn't matter and we don't have to care. And I think we're going to all end up just buying Apple Music subscriptions, to use my analogy. And there you go. What point were you trying to make here before I stepped all over it?
No, I think that was it. I think that was the very point, which was there's going to be a specific group of people that matters to. Just like you and I realize, your analogy is great. Honestly, I think that's probably one of the most perfect analogies of a specific product comparison. And I don't think there could be anything truer now. But you've got guys like myself where it does matter. I grew up on getting the album, man, and opening up the liner and just reading where the thing was recorded. Who were the session musicians playing? Who wrote the lyrics? Who is the what were they eating that day? I mean, those things they put on those liners, man, and that's you built a fan club, and that's all of that stuff was important to me, but it's not important to my son. You catch my drift?
Yeah.
And so that's the point that I'm trying to make. I think that, yes, I can't say that it's not important to people, because there are people out there that sort of thing is important to. It's just not important to the future demographic, and that is what these auto manufacturers are seeing. They need to change the marketing strategy more towards what that demographic wants, which they want the touchscreen stuff, the gaming feeling stuff, and the in-cab experience is more valuable to them than the performance under the hood.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
They want comfort. They want creature comfort. They don't care if it's... Let's face it, there are inline four-cylinder engines, man, that put out just as much horsepower as some of their V6s that are out there, and in some cases V6s as much as a V8. So they're doing this. You're still getting some performance quietly, but they're not marketing it. And let me give you a fine example of poor marketing to that end, which is when Ford decides they're going to put the EcoBoost in a pickup truck. Right? They marketed that. That was...
yeah,
right?
but 35 miles to the gas. Why are you buying a truck, man?
Right.
What?
Why exactly? That's my point, man. So this is the marketing. This is the marketing strategy that these guys have right now.
Is this the most controversial episode we've ever done?
I don't know. It could be. I hope it is. I hope people chime in and either say we're spot on or want to pick a fight. I'm good with that.
So, one more thing before we move on to this, because I can't leave my last analogy alone. It's like I got to come back and finish my career on a downer or something.
Yeah. No downers, man.
Indiana Jones will never go to the moon. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, I have. We watched it last night. We went to the movies. And I'm not gonna tell you, this is not gonna turn into a review. I'm gonna get to tell you one specific little 5 seconds thing that happened in the movie, and it might even be in the trailer. I don't think it's gonna ruin the movie for anybody. It's not a central part of the movie. And they threw it by you so quickly that nobody else in my family caught it. Okay?
Okay.
So if you didn't know, Jay, the current movie, it's gotten all kinds of press. This isn't a spoiler. It takes place in 1969, or part of it does. And, you know, he's older, Indy's older.
Mm-hmm.
And it opens with, you know, it sets that it's the date. It's 1969, okay?
Okay, yeah.
And then they're having what else? What significant thing happened in 1969 that you remember, Jay? The biggest thing the
moon.
Absolutely.
I watched it as a kid. I remember.
Okay.
I remember that happening.
So they're having a parade, and Indy's going down the street. I'm not going to get into the details, but in that parade are the astronauts. Remember they did the parade thing, okay?
Mm-hmm. I remember it well. Yeah.
And he makes eye contact with them in a convertible, and he just literally, it's meant to be. He just dismisses it and moves on. He's a historian. He's an archaeologist. He doesn't care about all that crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was so poignant in the movie.
Yeah,
And nobody got it. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's two different cultures, man. You got your infotainment screens over here.
Yep.
Don't care about what's under the hood.
Right.
And you got your traditional, I want to know how it runs, what it runs on, what the displacement is, all that stuff, right?
Dude, you get an award today for analogies.
Thanks.
You do. You really do. I mean, that is a perfect to put those two together, and that is exactly what we're dealing with. Two completely different demographics.
Yep.
And that is what I think the automotive industry is in a pickle right now because of that, and the electric vehicle inventory is proof of that. They're having a hard time selling because I think they got out of the chute way too quick with this stuff, and now they're sitting on first gen vehicles that they can't sell. They're going to have to reduce the price on it. That means they're going to take a profit hit. There's going to be a lot of other things that suffer. People are going to lose their jobs over it. Don't blame the electric vehicle itself for the loss of the jobs. Blame the poor marketing and the fact that somebody didn't do their homework.
So
and that's
I
it.
think, Jay, think
Yes.
maybe in the long game,
Mm-hmm.
Toyota comes out a real winner here.
I'm pretty certain they are.
Now, I'm still really pissed at Toyota over this whole 3G chipset thing from from last year, where they put a whole bunch of 3G chipsets in their vehicles, and then 3G went offline, and they knew it when they were building them.
This basically screwed the customer, yeah.
And didn't, But I digress. We have said many times on this show, Toyota's been very slow, appearingly behind on things like EVs. And we've said, we think this is on purpose. We think it's intentional. We think it's by design. And we've seen little elements of proof of that where Toyota's not going all in, and then they come out with something and we're like, yep.
I hate to say I told you so.
And so, of late, so they did away with the Landcruiser, seemingly.
Right.
And on this show, we said, yeah, but come on, they know better. That
Right.
thing's sold too well. It's
We
too,
did say
you
that.
know.
We did, yeah.
And so now we have this, potentially it's coming back. It never really went away. You could still get it in the Lexus. They're a little bit different, but I digress. So potentially coming back with retro styling.
Potentially.
This could be, if it turns out to be true, one of the most brilliant moves by Toyota in a time where people are pulling back on EV purchases.
Mm-hmm.
And there could potentially be a segment that's still hungry for the old way.
Right.
Just give me some knobs and buttons like it's on my FJ,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. I think so. I'm with you on that. And not only the old way, we're talking getting off-road, having fun in a vehicle that is capable of doing that. And they've hit the ball out of the park with the release of the new Tundra, with the release of the new Tacoma. And there are several things that could happen with this vehicle, but I am seeing that what Toyota has consistently done through this shift, they've gone to the global architecture, Toyota's global architecture platform. So the Tundra and Toyota, same architecture, and I believe that this new Landcruiser will obviously go down that path. But here's the question: will they take the route of what Ford did with the Bronco, and will they take the route of what Jeep has been doing with the Wrangler? You know, it's virtually unchanged for all these years. What works, works, right? People kept pressing forward. If you're going to do this, bring it back in a retro style. Will Toyota do the same thing? Remains to be seen.
Well, we know for sure.
Yes.
They did announce it's coming back. Okay.
Yes.
And they did a little teaser video, and it had featured the Landcruiser. And, you know, what that's going to look like, we don't know. Yes, there were some retro badges in it, but that could just be... This would not be the first time Toyota has used their heritage vehicles in a video featuring a new product that's radically different. I mean, that
Right.
happened with the new Tundra.
Right.
And, yeah.
You know, there are some speculations on the silhouettes that were released. And see, when Toyota teased this thing, they had an old Landcruiser silhouette, which is iconic. You know what it looks like with the silhouette. And then, of course, they have what they're saying is what the new one will look like. But it still remains to be seen. Will it have round headlights? Will it have square headlights? It being built on a...
Yes.
Right. I mean, for example, the FJ, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Could this be and pay homage to that series, the old FJ40, whatever? No matter what it is, it might be, it might be the same as the what is it, the Prada in Japan, I think, in the Asian market
right.
is what it's called. You know, no matter what it is called elsewhere, they're going to call it the Landcruiser, and it is going to have just the Landcruiser badge on it. So we shall see. But it is not going to be electric. There will probably be a hybrid.
It's too big. Yeah, it's too
It
big.
will probably be a hybrid. And I bet you that they're going to be using the similar platforms, if not the same engine platforms as what the new Tacoma has. So they've got the hybrid platform, and then they've got the TRD package. And it is my understanding, as the rumors came through about this thing, that there is going to be a special off-road edition, which tells me that Toyota Racing Development is involved with that. So that'll be interesting as well.
So Toyota tweeted on their official Twitter account that it was coming back in the United States. The Landcruiser was coming back.
Yep.
And this is... So I would normally ask you guys, as our listeners and viewers, to let us know what you think. And by all means, leave a comment. I would say that in this case, I really believe Toyota, unless they're just insanely stupid, knows not to mess much with that design. It truthfully had not been touched for almost 20 years, much.
Right.
Before they stopped the Toyota branded version here in the United States. For them to come out and make it radically different, this is not the place for that. Do that in your EVs, do that in your new models. Toyota, as slow and methodical as they have been about any change, it would not make sense for them as a company. That breaks character in a big way. It's so out of
Absolutely it
character
does.
for them.
Yeah.
So my prediction is it's not going to be radically different. Could be wrong. Now, there might be some nice upgrades in performance, like Jay said, in interior comforts, but it's not going to be a completely different design platform. That would make no sense for Toyota.
Right. Well, if they're going Toyota global architecture, then they would have to make some adjustments there.
Some.
But for the body itself, that side of it.
But I mean, they're not going to just completely,
No.
do
No,
something.
Yeah, I don't think that this is just. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think that they're going to win an award for best different version ever. I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think they want to, because I think they would really, really disappoint a lot of their base customers, their base demographic. So
Toyota is not really a fire-ready aim company.
No, they're
right?
not.
They just have never been.
Right. Unlike GM.
GM, on the other hand, thank you for making my point, will just shoot and ask questions later.
Exactly.
Right?
And we're going to give you the finest example of that. So we got Toyota paying homage to an old favorite, right?
Yeah.
We had Ford paying homage to an old favorite with the Bronco. Jeep still continuing to make the Wrangler, in similar styles and stylings and those sorts of things, not radically changed.
For you, the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present Exhibit A. The all-new Blazer EV.
Holy moly.
God help me. Okay.
Right.
So, I got to recover, Jay. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to bring us into this. And when they brought the Blazer back, and when I say Blazer, the next generation Blazer, this particular generation over the last 3 years, when it came out, we knew what Ford was doing, and by all accounts, it looked like they were going to bring a retro-style, hardcore off-roader. Okay? And
but you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong.
And Ford did that, but...
Oh, no, you'd be right about Ford doing that.
Yeah.
But if you thought that the competitor product from GM,
right,
knowing that the Blazer was the competitor to the Bronco in previous decades...
I mean...
So it would only make sense that we stay competitors in, comparable models, right, Jay?
When you think Chevy Blazer, you think hardcore off-roader, right?
Yeah.
K5 Blazers. I mean, beasts, man. Beasts. But
and you got a station wagon, right?
And you got a wagon.
Yeah.
Now, this EV, the Blazer EV version of this
Well, hold up. So we said on this very program, and this is why you guys need to be subscribed. I think it was 2 years ago.
It was.
We looked at this and said, this is the dumbest thing ever. You know when this would make sense? This would make sense if they did it as an EV and the timing is right.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Right?
Yeah. That's exactly right, man. That is.
I hate to say I told you so.
Yes. Absolutely, man. And so here you have the new Chevy Blazer EV, which is basically...
Hold up. Hey, GM, thanks for listening to the podcast. We love you guys.
What's her name? Maria Barra?
Mary, yeah.
Is it Mary? Mary
Yeah.
Barra?
Yeah.
Keith and I are looking for jobs.
Not really.
No, we got one.
But I mean, hey, if you want to maybe consulting or something, sure.
Right.
Yeah,
now,
we're full of good ideas. Just listen to this podcast.
Let me say this, though. I will say this. From someone who looks at what the body looks like and the technology that has gone into this thing, I dig it. It's sporty. Yes, it's an SUV.
Yeah. This is what they should have done
This is what they should have done 3 years ago. And what I'm seeing in this thing is they have taken some of the Vet interior, the Camaro interior, and given it that look, man. Just that whole cockpit design.
On the SS, yeah.
Right. The interior just wraps around you. And the color trims, are great with the red accents and all that sort of stuff, man. Just beautiful.
GM wouldn't be GM if they didn't give you 17 million different combination options for color and trim and all that. Right?
Absolutely,
I mean, that's just
man.
what they do, right?
Yeah. I think their VIN numbers go out 40 digits, right, or something like that.
Right.
They're running out of room to put that on that barcode now. But They've done a lot of smart things with this thing, though. I mean, they're one, right? You were just showing that, Keith, where the charging port is on the front.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. That's kind of clever with the BLAZER, and the E is highlighted as electric, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they've done a lot of smart things from the marketing standpoint of this vehicle. Now, here's the funny thing, though. This is not on the Ultium platform. Currently, right now, the only two vehicles that I know that are built on the Ultium platform is the Hummer and the Cadillac Lyriq.
Right.
So when is that coming about? What is GM waiting on?
Well, I mean, I can send you spy photos of the new Ultium plant down the road. I mean, they did just expand, like they quadrupled the size of the thing. So
now here's my question.
You got to have space to build extra model. What? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Do you think that they're playing the long game here too with some battery technology that we have yet to see?
I really don't, man.
You don't?
I really don't. And I could be wrong, and it happens. But this looks like a Mach-E competitor that showed up about a year and a half too late. This looks awesome. You're right. I love it.
The interior looks great.
But
I could deal with most of that, except for I think that the infotainment screen is way too big. You could do without that.
Yeah, but their marketing people looked at that and said, if we don't make it this big, we're going to lose sales. So
I think you're right.
I mean,
they're not marketing to me. I'm over that age.
They're looking at the Jaguar I-Pace, F-Paces. They're looking at the Lamborghini's got an SUV now, and they're going, we could sport this thing up like you said, Corvette Camaro.
That's it.
And we've got a little bit of a, it's not necessarily a dad wagon.
Do you think you're going to find a dude driving this thing, man, that's going to have like a collared, like leopard print shirt down?
Well, if I do, Jay, we're getting him on the channel.
And just chains.
Because I have to meet that guy.
Yeah. That's just, I don't think they're marketing to that guy. But as I just said, I think that it's a good-looking electric vehicle SUV. I think that GM, depending on what the price is, I think we'll find out soon if it's not already out there. Did you find any pricing whatsoever? I didn't.
No. Well, actually, hold on. Yes, I did.
Remember in a previous podcast, we were talking about a lot of these manufacturers are coming in strong with these higher-end electric vehicles, but now they're going to come to the market with, and I think to survive, you have to. But the problem you have is the bloated inventories that they have. They've got to get rid of this stuff that they've already built, man. They're just sitting on lots.
Estimated MSRP starting at $44,495, so $45K.
From an average vehicle cost,
that's going to be the base model, right?
Yeah, I think from an average cost, they're about $10,000 over what people are willing to pay for an electric vehicle right now. That's my thought on that.
So would you like me to?
And dumb enough, they've
discontinued
one of the best selling electric vehicles they've ever had, which is the Bolt.
Yeah.
No more.
So I got an idea that would help them sell more of these. Would you like to hear it? I feel like I'm on a roll today.
I feel like we have to hear it now.
Okay, so here it is. It's a commercial. You guys at GM, listen up. I'll make this quick. Okay, let me set it up for you. Hey, you got the Chevy Blazer EV. Got a dad driving it. You got kids in the back seat. Pulls up at a stoplight. Turns red. Stops. Ford Mustang. ICE. Internal combustion. New Ford Mustang pulls up next to him with some just arrogant let's make it the guy in Jay's deal where he's got the Gaudi chains and the mohawk and all that, right? And then they just look at each other. Guy nod. Light turns green. And that Blazer EV just smokes them. Because it will. It's going to beat any internal combustion engine off the line. I mean, without knowing specs, I'm pretty confident in that. And there's how you sell more of these cars, because you've now made it look like it's a macho,
True.
Yeah,
that's
right?
a good marketing strategy. They did the same thing with the Mach-E. Ford did that with the Mach-E.
Right. But
but you're right.
Saying.
At the end of the day, the top end of this is where they'll fail. I mean, obviously, they will get caught by that Mustang, ICE.
Yeah. So there you go, right? Or just something. It doesn't have to be a Mustang. I just thought that would be a funny, rival.
No, I think you're right. I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. I think it's good marketing, man. Why not? Let's do it. Let's write a script. Let's have ChatGPT write a script for a commercial for something like that. Let's see if we can do it, and we'll try to air it on here. Can we do that?
Okay.
Can that
Yeah.
happen?
Make sure you're subscribed, everybody.
I mean, and let's have it create like imagery. Can we do that too?
Well, you need to. Yeah, I mean, these are not. When are they going to start hitting? It's going to be a while though. We'd have to get access to one of these.
You know what though? I'm willing to get in costume, and let's just
Okay.
film it. You and
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
I'll be the guy with the chains and stuff in the Mustang.
Oh no, Yeah. Okay. Well, I was going to make you the hero, but yeah, sure, whatever. We can find plenty of guys to play the sucker. You know?
Absolutely,
Okay.
man. Man, oh man, oh man. All right. Wow. So we got one more thing to talk about, and if we haven't talked about enough today, then we're sorry. We'll get to that next week.
It's amazing how much more we've been able to get in each one of these podcasts and keep it under an hour and a half than we used to.
I know, man. We're not hanging up on things so much as we used to. Battery technology. Keith and I said it.
I hate to say I told you so.
The answer out of this problem that we have talked about all day on this podcast, the weight, the cost, the range, all of those things comes into play with the next generation batteries, which is going to be solid state. Now, the Chinese have already released a vehicle with I think they said it was almost like a semi solid state. It's in their Neo, the Chinese Neo ES6. It has a 577 mile range, man. Crazy, huh?
And that is not a giant SUV with a huge bank of battery skateboard platform. This is a relatively small four-door with some range to it. So
I'm
that-
looking
that-
at
yeah,
I'm
go
looking
ahead.
at what this guy is saying. He says that Neo updated their user manuals, easy for me to say, that include a new 150 kilowatt per hour semi-solid state battery pack alongside the existing battery types.
So,
okay.
yeah, so it's a hybrid battery pack.
Right. The solid state batteries will be available on the Neo ES6 in China starting in July. And that's according to their CEO. Whether that's true or not, we'll send some balloons up and let you know.
So once again, the auto industry here in Detroit led the way.
Yes. Right? I know, man. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So in case you guys don't know what a solid state battery is, basically solid state batteries, solid electrolytes, is charge carrying components between the two electrodes are used instead of liquid or polymer gel electrolytes in current lithium ion or lithium polymer batteries. Now, why is that important? Well, it's a lot less weight, and it kind of removes a lot of the volatility out of that. So all the fires and stuff that you're seeing going on in
Less
these crashes.
volatile. That's a
Yes.
great word. More heat tolerant, usually.
Correct.
Meaning, the
Efficiency.
charging speed, the rate of charge, the amount of juice, if you will, that you can push to these batteries, you can overheat them. You got to be careful.
Yes.
And solid state tends to be more stable,
Right.
which means that they get less hot.
Right. Now, good old US of A. China's doing it. Germany's doing it. Where are we at? That's the answer to the infrastructure problem you guys are worried about, the range problem you're worried about, the safety issues you're worried about. Get off your rear ends. Leak some information so we can talk positively about this, not negatively. Wait a minute, we are talking positives and negatives. We're talking batteries. So
There you go. Nice, Jay. Nice.
So what I'm saying is I have to reiterate what we started talking about. Thank you for
Pulled yourself off track, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I did, man. It was like almost I don't know, boop. Long story short, we talked about this earlier in this podcast, which is how can the EV market be successful? And as continue moving forward with the next generation batteries, I think we have to be there before they can be anywhere near successful or proclaiming that we can be all electric at any time soon. Otherwise, if they do not in this country do not do that, then that 2035 mark is you're not hitting it And I still think even with these pieces of information coming out that solid state batteries are continuing to move forward, I still think that we're way off the mark from getting to that point. We have the standardization of charging ports, all those things. These are positive things that are moving, but all of these things take time to get into production, take time to get to the market, all of these things. So we're still a long, long way from getting it to where it could be a sustainable industry. I don't think we're there yet. So anyway, that's my end point on this.
Unless you get a time machine. You get a time machine, you go back and buy yourself more time, and then you can take all the time you need to get it worked out, and then come back and still be ahead.
You know what?
If I
had a time machine, you know where I'd want to drop myself back to? And this is the truth.
The Last Supper?
No. I don't want to be involved in that one, man.
I don't know. That was my guess.
No. I think I would want to be dropped in the best seat for the Super Bowl where the Miami Dolphins won, and it was the perfect year, because I'm a Dolphin fan.
Okay.
Been a Dolphin fan.
That would have been my second guess.
Yeah, but I think I would want to be dropped in that Super Bowl to witness that. So.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Don Shula.
Yeah.
Larry Zonka. I mean, Bob Greasy. Come on, man. Doesn't get any better than that. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I said to say that.
Of all the things you could pick, man, and that's your okay. I mean, it is great, but
yeah. But then I could, if I got dropped back and I wanted to stay there, then I could live through the 70s again. And maybe I could change some things because I know all this stuff. I could change the timeline. Maybe we'd already be driving EVs because I know about all this stuff. Because I was a guru in my former life.
Yeah, okay. Now I'm trying to decide where I would go. We're not going to get to that today. We'll get to it next time.
1969.
I'm thinking, well, it could be
right there in the middle of that parade.
Could be, yes, or Roswell. It depends on how quickly I can get out, right? Like, do I have a quick exit? Do we do something like the grassy knoll? Do we again? How quickly can I get away? Right.
True.
Do I bring a Sony Handycam and then sell it on pay-per-view 35, 40 years later for, I don't know, man. Now the wheels are turning. We'll tune in next time, everybody. Yeah.
Guys, welcome to this podcast where we can go off the rails occasionally.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're always good. We're good.
Yeah. Speaking of off the rails, it's good to be back. I got an RV repair to pay for. We'll find out about that next time, but in the meantime, you can help with that by telling a friend about the podcast.
Support us, man.
Go to our website at partscounterguru.com. You can find there's a podcast tab up there. Or give us a thumbs up and subscribe on the YouTube side if you're watching the video version. And thank you guys for making us a part of your lives. Yes,
Absolutely.
Jay, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I wanted to say follow us on socials. We're always over there, man. It's we're at facebook.com. Facebook.com/partscountergurus. Instagram, we're Instagram.com/the Parts Counter Gurus. We're on TikTok. We are the Parts Counter Gurus. Gosh, man, where else? We're actually on LinkedIn. If you guys want to find us on LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn now.
As Neil would say, because we're grown-ups.
Yeah, because we're grown-ups. Thank you, Neil, for that. What an exciting show that was to have him on. And then we got some exciting stuff coming down the pike also. Just remember
live
that.
events, good interviews, good podcast guests, all that. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed.
Yeah, please do. Other than that, I really don't have much more to say other than it's always good to be with you here, my friend, and I enjoy talking shop and making predictions. I mean, it's all the fun, right?
It is.
I hate to say I told you so.
All right, everybody. For my pal Jay over there, I am Ronald Jockey, reminding you, you are what you repeat. Thanks for making us part of your lives. We'll see you on the next one.
Ciao.